Sparkles and stitches. The lights of the new department store, Aurora, were not the spotlights of an arena. They were colder, clinical, designed to show off silk scarves and designer handbags, not the sweat and grit of Joshi Puroresu. But here I was, Sayaka, the sparkle kick idol star, back in my full glory, a shimmering white and gold battle dress, boots laced tight, and a smile so wide it felt bolted onto my face. 6 months. 6 long, agonizing months. The doctor's words had played on an endless loop. Cracked rib, minimal movement, 6 months of physical therapy. It was a nightmare for an idol wrestler who thrived on high-flying risk. Every day away felt like 1,000 fans forgetting my name. Today was my return. Not a full-scale return, but an exhibition match. A ridiculous, glorious spectacle in the middle of a shopping mall inauguration. Our ring was the entire main floor, and the ropes were the security barriers holding back a throng of shoppers who had come for discounts but stayed for the spectacle. My opponent, the veteran Kaori, was already tossing mannequins into the jewelry section. The script was simple, a chaotic, fun brawl using whatever merchandise we could get our hands on. But I needed more. I needed to remind everyone, my manager, the fans, and myself, that the 6 months hadn't dulled the sparkle kick. I was still Sayaka, still the high-risk high flyer. I signaled the moment. Kaori understood. She gave a quick, almost imperceptible nod. It was time for the Taupe Suicida, a suicide dive, but this time from a structure higher than any turnbuckle. I saw the perfect spot. A promotional platform holding a giant, shimmering display of perfume bottles. It was nearly 2 meters high, overlooking the main escalator bay. I scaled the short wall like a cat, my heart pounding with a mixture of terror and exhilarating adrenaline. This wasn't a standard ring. The floor was polished marble. The risk was exponentially higher. From the top of the wall, the crowd was a sea of flashing phone screens and upturned faces. I spotted Kaori, perfectly positioned, waiting to catch me and cushion the impact as planned. My fellow wrestlers, good-hearted Momo-chan among them, were already creating a human safety net in the landing zone. This was a high-risk maneuver, but it was calculated. They were ready. I took a deep breath, the air thick with the scent of new leather and desperation. I ran for momentum along the narrow ledge, the polished surface threatening to give way under my heavy boots. Jump, fly, sparkle. As my feet lifted off the ground, a chilling metallic snap ripped through the celebratory music. It was a sound that had nothing to do with wrestling. I looked up instinctively. A massive, heavy banner promoting the mall's grand opening, suspended by steel cables, was falling. One of the cables, already weakened by the vibration or perhaps just poorly installed, had given way. The sign hit me midair. It wasn't a push. It was an impact that changed physics. The flat, wide surface of the sign, a heavy sheet of rigid plastic and metal frame, slammed into my side, propelling me not toward Kaori in the prepared safety net, but sideways. With terrifying speed and force, the world turned into a chaotic blur of white light and screaming. I was flying too far, too fast. My carefully calculated trajectory was utterly destroyed. Instead of landing on the soft, waiting bodies of my colleagues, I was rocketing toward the one thing we'd all cleared the area around, the cold, unforgiving edge of a marble staircase. This is it, I thought with chilling clarity. The comeback ends with an ambulance. Then, something else entered the frame. A dark blur that moved with impossible speed from the spectator area. I didn't see him jump, only that he was suddenly there. A human wall where a second before there had been open air. He collided with me. The impact was jarring, painful, but profoundly different from hitting marble. I felt thick, solid muscle, a surprising density, meet my body. He didn't try to catch me outright. He redirected me. He used his mass to turn the momentum, twisting our bodies so that my weight and the remaining force of the sign didn't shatter my spine against the stair edge, but instead drove us both down to the polished floor. We hit with a sickening thud. The air was knocked out of me in a loud gasp. My head swam. The shock was immediate, paralyzing. I lay there, gasping, staring up at the rotating ceiling lights, momentarily convinced I had broken every bone in my body. But I was alive, and I could move. Before I could process the sudden silence, the adrenaline-fueled roar of the crowd, or the man lying half underneath me, Kaori and Momo-chan were there. Their faces, usually fierce in the ring, were masks of pure, panicked relief. "Sayaka, are you okay? The show must go on," Kaori hissed, her voice tight with professional urgency. My ribs felt like they were on fire, but the familiar ache was nothing compared to the fear that had just flooded my system. I'm fine," I managed to choke out. They hauled me up, their grips firm and unforgiving. The spectacle could not stop. The flow of the story was paramount. As they dragged me back toward the temporary ring in the clothing section, I twisted my head to look back at the man who had caught me. He was still on the ground, struggling to sit up. He was big, much taller than any of the Japanese men in the audience, with sun-kissed hair and a strong, square jaw, currently set in a grimace of pain. And there, starkly visible against the clean, white marble, was a spot of deep crimson red blooming on the back of his head. He was bleeding, badly. My rescuer was hurt because of me. The sight jolted me back to reality faster than any slap. I tried to pull away, to rush back, but Momo-chan's arm was a steel vice around my waist. "Go! We'll handle it later," she ordered, pushing me forward. I had to put on the smile. I had to continue the performance. I had to sparkle. But as I launched myself back into the theatrical chaos, all I could see was that dark red stain, and all I could think about was the stranger I'd inadvertently dragged into my high-risk life. The show finally ended 20 minutes later, a frenzy of finishing moves and fake tears of exhaustion. But the adrenaline that had kept me moving through the pain evaporated the moment the cameras were off. I collapsed onto a folding chair backstage, ignoring the manager's frantic instructions. A few minutes later, the manager, Mr. Tanaka, strode in, his face a furious red, a crumpled insurance document clutched in his hand. "This is unacceptable, placing my girls in danger in a non-sanctioned location. I will have their contract shredded and the mall sued into bankruptcy," he bellowed, pacing the small makeshift locker room. Momo-chan, ever the practical one, was methodically peeling off her wrist tape. "Focus, Tanaka-san. Is Sayaka okay? Are her ribs stable?" "The ribs are fine, thank God," I mumbled, leaning forward. "But the man, the spectator who saved me, what about him?" Tanaka stopped pacing, his fury momentarily displaced by annoyance. "The foreigner? Nothing to worry about. He's fine. A little knock to the head." Security said he was quite calm. He patched himself up immediately with a first aid kit and told them he was going to the nearest emergency room, just in case. They offered an ambulance. He declined. Said he knew what he was doing. Knew what he was doing? I thought. The way he moved, the speed, the almost surgical precision of the redirection, it hadn't been a desperate fluke. It had been training. "Which hospital?" I demanded, pushing myself up despite the protesting ache in my torso. Tanaka sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Sayaka, what are you doing? You have an image to maintain. Idol wrestlers are supposed to be untouchable. You cannot be seen visiting a man, especially a non-Japanese man, in a hospital after a public incident. It will look unprofessional. Maybe even romantic." "Tanaka-san, he saved me from breaking my neck," I countered, my voice low but firm. "I owe him more than an apology. I need to know he's all right. I won't be seen, I promise." "She's right," Momo-chan interjected, already pulling a baseball cap low over her signature bright pink hair. "I'll go with her. We'll wear the anonymous clothes. I'm excellent at losing reporters, you know that. I'll be the lookout. No one will ever know." Tanaka looked from my determined face to Momo-chan's reassuring one. He knew my stubbornness when the cause was right. He also knew Momo-chan's reputation for being sneaky. He threw his hands up in defeat. Fine, fine. Street Jude's Emergency Annex. Go, but if you are spotted, I will personally throw you into a wrestling school for retired grandmothers, and you will never see a main event again. You hear me, Sparkle Kick? Loud and clear, Tanaka-san, I said, already scrambling for my street clothes. We changed quickly into anonymity. Black sweatpants, bulky hoodies, surgical masks, and baseball caps that hid any trace of my carefully styled image. The process of covering up felt strange. My idol self, the one who craved the spotlight, was hidden away so that my real self, the one burdened by guilt, could go and do the right thing. Momo-chan hailed a cab 3 blocks away, keeping her head down the entire ride. My heart hammered against my ribs, making the ache worse. I was breaking a sacred, unspoken rule of the idol circuit, and the guilt was a heavy presence in the confined space of the taxi. Street Jude's was quiet. We moved through the brightly lit corridors like a pair of shadows, whispering the name Sayaka's rescuer to a tired-looking nurse. She pointed us toward a private examination room at the end of the hall. Momo-chan stopped me before I could reach the door. Remember the plan. I stand here facing the corridor. If I see anyone who looks remotely like they have a camera, I give you the signal. Got it. I nodded, my throat dry. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The scent of antiseptic and sterile linens hit me first. He was sitting on the edge of the examination bed, a surprisingly large figure dwarfed by the white walls. A doctor, a young woman with a kind expression, was meticulously applying the last few staples to the back of his head where the skin had split open. He was wearing a simple gray t-shirt, which did nothing to hide the breadth of his shoulders or the lean, athletic build that had allowed him to move so quickly. His hair, now slightly damp, was the color of pale honey, and his profile was strikingly sharp. A Western face, yes, but almost classically handsome, like a statue carved from sunlit stone. I walked toward him hesitantly. The doctor looked up, but he didn't. He was engrossed in a quiet argument with the nurse about spending the night for observation. I'm telling you, I'm fine, he insisted, his voice a low melodic rumble, slightly accented. I deal with concussions professionally. This is a graze, a split scalp. A bit of blood, but no dizziness, no nausea. I just need to get back to my hotel. Mr. Grant, the doctor replied patiently. It's standard protocol, especially after a fall from that height. Even if you mitigated the impact, we need to be cautious. Mr. Grant. Kevin Grant. I cleared my throat softly. He looked up then. His eyes, a clear, startling blue, the color of a tropical ocean, met mine. Despite the surgical mask hiding my face, the baseball cap obscuring my hair, and my nondescript clothes, his eyes widened slightly in immediate recognition. A faint, tired smile touched his lips. Well, look who decided to show up, he murmured, the corners of his eyes crinkling. Hi, Sayaka. My carefully rehearsed, formal apology evaporated. I rushed the last few steps, bowing deeply, a deep, Japanese bow of true reverence and humility, and then immediately straightened, tears stinging my eyes. I am so sorry. Thank you. Thank you for saving me. You risked your life. That fall was so dangerous. You're hurt because of me. The words tumbled out, a messy, heartfelt confession. He chuckled softly, a warm sound that made the room feel instantly smaller. Hey, no need for the deep bow, and no apologies necessary. It was my choice. Honestly, I saw the trajectory, and I just reacted. It's what I do. He gestured to the doctor. This lovely lady is just finishing up. Scalp laceration. Looks much worse than it is. I told them I deal with this kind of thing all the time. You deal with it? I asked, confused. Yeah. My job is search and rescue, specialist in mountainous and high-altitude extractions, mostly in South America and parts of Southeast Asia, he explained casually. Instinct takes over when I see someone about to take a bad fall. You were coming in hard and fast, and that stair edge was unforgiving. I just needed to change the point of impact and cushion the rest. He paused, looking directly into my eyes, and the connection was instantaneous, electric. And I have to say, you hit me a lot softer than I thought you were going to. I laughed, a weak, shaky sound of relief. My sparkle kick is usually much harder. I promise. The doctor finished the staples and excused herself, asking the nurse to check in on him in an hour. As the door clicked shut, Momo-chan's head poked in. She sized up the situation, me, flustered and teary, him, handsome and calm, and a knowing look passed over her face. Sayaka, I'll go check the main entrance. You know, make sure the coast is clear, Momo-chan said, her voice dripping with artificial innocence. Don't rush, safety first. She winked and pulled the door shut, leaving us in a charged silence. Kevin watched the door close with an amused expression. Your friend seems like a good bodyguard. She is the best, I whispered, then cleared my throat, forcing myself to regain composure. Kevin, why are you in Japan? Are you on vacation? Exactly that. A mandatory 2-week leave. I was doing the tourist thing, check out the big new mall, maybe find some weird Japanese snack food, and suddenly I'm playing crash pad for a professional wrestler, he said, the blue of his eyes sparkling. It's been a memorable vacation so far. I sat down in a plastic chair next to the bed, forgetting the pain in my ribs. We talked for an hour. It wasn't the superficial small talk I was used to giving fans and journalists. He asked real questions about the world of Joshi Puroresu, about the pain of my injury and the fear of my comeback. He understood the intensity of the moment, the absolute necessity of the taupe suicida for my soul. He was articulate, funny, and incredibly attentive. He didn't see Sayaka the idol, the sparkle kick phenomenon. He saw Sayaka, the girl who flew too high and nearly crashed. It was intoxicating. So, you just travel the world, saving people? I asked, fascinated. That's the glamorous summary. Most of the time, it's a lot of cold tea, waiting, and paperwork. But yeah, when things go wrong, I try to put them right. You were right about one thing, though, he added, leaning closer, his voice dropping slightly. Your kick is impressive, even accidentally. I felt a blush creep up my neck, visible even under the mask. He had the most direct, honest gaze I had ever encountered. It was unnerving, yet captivating. The time? I started, glancing at my watch. Just then, the door burst open. It wasn't Momo-chan, but she was a second behind, her face pale with urgency. Reporters! Sayaka, they're here! Someone must have spotted the van we used. We have to go! Now! Momo-chan hissed, already pulling me by the sleeve. My heart sank. My brief bubble of normalcy, of genuine connection, was shattered. I'm so sorry, Kevin. I have to leave, I stammered, pulling off my mask for a fleeting second, letting him see my full panicked face. I'll try to. Go, he insisted, his hand briefly but firmly gripping my forearm. I get it. Image maintenance. Don't worry about me. I'm used to quick exits. Momo-chan dragged me out. As we hustled down a back stairwell, I looked back once, catching his clear blue gaze one last time before the door swung shut. The guilt was back, sharper now, but mixed with a confusing, potent cocktail of attraction and regret. I couldn't sleep. I paced my small apartment like a trapped animal, agonizing over the fact that Kevin Grant was sleeping in a hospital bed because of me while I was tucked away safe in my celebrity bubble. The moment the sun touched the horizon, I was up. I called Momo-chan. I'm going back, I stated without preamble. I know, she sighed on the other end. I'm already in my car. Give me 10 minutes. But Sayaka, Tanaka-san is going to kill us. Let him try. I'll wrestle him for it. When we arrived, Kevin was already dressed, backpack slung over his shoulder, signing release forms at the main desk. He looked even better in the daylight. Casual jeans, a dark jacket, and a slightly rumpled energy that was incredibly appealing. A small, square bandage was taped neatly to the back of his head, the only physical sign of the previous day's disaster. He smiled when he saw me, a bright, genuine expression that reached his eyes. You came back. I hoped you would. I told you I would, I said, ignoring Momo-chan's frantic hand gestures to stay masked and hidden. I felt safer with him than I did with my manager. Are you really okay? Did you sleep well? I was fine, annoyed at the nurse for waking me up for temperature checks, but fine. Let's get out of here. I hate the smell of hospitals. We walked out, leaving Momo-chan to trail us like a well-trained, if highly stressed, ninja. The walk was effortless. The conversation flowed from wrestling to search and rescue, from the best ramen stalls in Tokyo to the sheer isolation of the Andes Mountains. He was so grounded, so stable, a profound contrast to the theatrical, fleeting world of entertainment I lived in. We stopped at a small park, the sun streaming through the cherry trees. It felt completely natural, completely right. Then, Kevin stopped walking, turned to face me, and put his hands casually in his pockets. The easy air between us suddenly tightened. Sayaka, I know we just met, and I know you're this celebrity, but honestly, I can't stop thinking about you, he said, his blue eyes intense. Would you go out with me? A real date later this week? Dinner? Maybe a movie? I'd really like to spend more time with you. I froze. The air rushed out of my lungs. My mind went completely blank, a panicked, echoing void. Go out? It was such a Western concept. In Japan, especially in my world, everything was calculated, prearranged, group-oriented. Dates were for normal people. Idol wrestlers didn't get asked out. They got photographed, filmed, and dissected. The idea of him, a powerful, handsome man, singling me out and asking for a private, romantic encounter was completely foreign. It paralyzed me. I stood there, speechless, my eyes wide and unblinking, feeling every single lesson and rule imparted by my management flash through my brain. No men, no scandal, no loss of focus. A flicker of concern crossed his face. He misinterpreted my silence. Okay. I completely misread that, he said, taking a small step back, his shoulders slumping slightly. His voice softened, becoming gentle and reassuring. I'm sorry. I moved too fast. I had a fantastic time last night. But look, if you're not interested, you don't have to say yes. No pressure at all. We can just be friends. I'm leaving the country next week, so it's not like I'll stick around to make things awkward. His immediate retreat, his genuine concern for my comfort, somehow gave me the courage to breathe. He was offering me an exit, but the thought of letting him go, of reducing this incredible electric connection to a polite, fleeting friendship, made my chest ache. No, I finally managed to blurt out, the word feeling heavy and true. No, I am interested. Very interested. His face lit up with a brilliant smile that made my knees feel weak.
Oh. Good. Really good.
But, I continued, quickly extinguishing the spark, you don't understand the rules. The rules! An idol cannot be seen with a man in public, especially not a foreigner. Especially not after a public accident. It would be a career-ending scandal. Genki, the paparazzi, and crazy fans, they are everywhere. They are waiting for me to slip up. He leaned back against the trunk of a tree, crossing his arms, looking completely undaunted. The problem, for him, was just a hurdle, a challenge to be overcome. The search and rescue specialist was assessing the terrain. Okay, standard security breach protocol. Got it, he said, tapping his chin thoughtfully. Then we don't get seen. We need deep cover. What's the place where no one expects to find you, and where masks are encouraged? He snapped his fingers. A carnival. A theme park. We'll go to the Dreamland Park tonight. And we'll wear masks. Rabbit masks. To cover our identities and to remind us to be playful. The idea was ridiculous. It was reckless. It was everything Tanaka-san warned me against. And it was absolutely perfect. A rabbit mask date, I whispered, a genuine smile finally breaking through my carefully controlled exterior. Okay, Kevin, I'll go. The evening air was cool and crisp, smelling faintly of popcorn and synthetic sugar. Dreamland was a chaotic explosion of neon lights and cheerful, distorted music. I met Kevin just outside the entrance, tucked into the shadow of a giant plush octopus prize. He handed me a small paper bag. Inside were 2 identical fluffy white rabbit masks. They were designed for tourists, soft fabric that covered the upper half of the face, with large pink-lined ears sticking up jauntily. They hid my eyes, my signature feature, and the distinctive line of my jaw and nose, but left my smile and lips exposed. "Ready, Sparkle Kick?" he teased, pulling the mask over his own face. It looked absurdly cute on his rugged masculine features, and I felt a nervous giggle bubble up. "Ready, Mr. Grant," I replied, fastening the elastic band around my head. For the next few hours, I was free. I wasn't Sayaka the idol, burdened by image and rules. I was just a girl in a rabbit mask, holding hands with a handsome Westerner. We rode the Ferris wheel, where the height felt safe, not like a 2-meter death trap. We rode a ridiculous spinning teacup ride that left us dizzy and laughing until our sides ached. We ate sweet, savory crepes and won a tiny, pathetic-looking stuffed sheep at a ring toss game. He was effortlessly charming, his humor dry and intelligent. When we talked about his rescue work, his eyes took on a serious, focused intensity that made the adrenaline from the day before rush back to me. When he spoke about his family, there was a warmth that made me melt. He felt like a rock, solid, dependable, yet excitingly unpredictable. It was during a moment of quiet, as we watched a parade of costumed characters dance by, that it happened. I had pushed my mask slightly up to take a sip of soda, feeling safe in the cover of darkness and the moving crowd. Suddenly, a voice, loud, grating, and horribly familiar, screamed through the noise. "Sayaka. Is that Sayaka?" "It is." The mask slipped. "It's Sayaka." My blood ran cold. I knew that voice. Genki. A high-profile fanatical fan who doubled as a relentless paparazzi. He had been a thorn in my manager's side for years, obsessively following me to every public appearance. I spun around. Genki was lunging toward us, his phone already raised, recording live, a desperate, triumphant look on his face. "Sayaka is on a date! Scandal! Sayaka, the idol, is dating a foreigner! Look at the blonde hair! I told you she was unprofessional!" He was yelling, drawing attention immediately. Kevin moved instantly. He didn't hesitate. He swung his tall, wide body around, blocking Genki's path and shielding me completely from the camera's lens. "Hey! Back off, buddy! She's not interested," Kevin warned, his voice deep and commanding, laced with a barely controlled anger. But Genki was desperate for his exclusive. He tried to duck under Kevin's arm. That was the instant my control snapped. 6 months of injury, the fear of the fall, the exhilaration of the date, the sheer, sudden panic of being exposed, it all boiled up into pure, physical instinct. Block the shot, eliminate the threat, Sparkle Kick. Without thinking, without any conscious instruction, my body took over. The same body that had just been cleared by a doctor, the same body that was designed for high-impact action. I executed a flawless textbook spin kick. It wasn't a show kick. It was fast, powerful, and driven by raw fear. My heel connected cleanly with Genki's jaw, sending him flying backward with a sickening thwack that was muffled only slightly by the crowd noise. His phone spun in the air, landing far away, its screen likely shattered. The screaming stopped. The music seemed to mute. A circle of silence opened around us as the nearby onlookers gasped at the sight of a famous idol in a rabbit mask, delivering a devastating martial arts kick to a civilian's face. "Run!" Kevin shouted, his hand gripping mine. We didn't need to be told twice. We bolted. We ran past the screaming rides, through the arcade lights, and out of the main square. The commotion, fueled by Genki's loud, pained cries and the curiosity of the crowd, gave us a brief window. We were fast, especially me, trained for explosiveness. Kevin matched my speed perfectly. We found refuge in a narrow, pitch-black utility alley between 2 souvenir shops. We slammed against the corrugated metal wall, side by side, panting, the adrenaline surging through our veins. We could hear the confused shouts of the crowd and the distant whining siren of park security in the main area. My heart was hammering so loudly I thought Kevin could hear it. My body was trembling, not from fear now, but from the sheer shock of what I had done. I had used my signature move, a move meant for the ring, for performance, to commit an assault. "Oh my God," I gasped, pulling my rabbit mask back down over my face, the cloth suddenly feeling hot and claustrophobic. I kicked him. I kicked a fan in the face. "Hey, he was harassing you, invading your privacy, and trying to cause serious trouble," Kevin murmured, his breath warm and close in the darkness. "You defended yourself, and you have a hell of a kick, Sparkle Kick." The proximity was overwhelming. The dark corner felt like a safe, secret world. We were two fugitives, bound by chaos, sweat, and a shared, illegal act. My senses were hyper-alert. I could smell the metallic tang of his jacket, the faint scent of antiseptic from his wound, and the heady, sweet musk of our combined panic. His hand came up, gently cupping the side of my face, his thumb brushing the edge of my mask. His eyes, even in the deep shadows, looked huge, blue, and utterly focused on me. "The rules are stupid," he whispered, his voice rough. "You shouldn't have to hide who you are." Then, he closed the remaining distance. His lips were firm, warm, and confident against mine. It wasn't a tentative first kiss. It was driven by the urgency of the moment, the pulse of danger, and the raw, undeniable connection we had forged over the last 24 hours. My mind, so disciplined, so full of rules, simply shut down. My own mask was pushed crookedly aside as I tilted my head and kissed him back. I gripped his jacket, pulling him closer, pouring all the pent-up frustration of my 6-month hiatus, the terror of the sign, and the overwhelming desire to finally be seen, not as an idol, but as a woman, into the kiss. It was intense, immediate, and addictive. It was the physical manifestation of the instant connection we'd found. A blind, passionate plunge into the unknown. We stayed there until the sounds of the search died down, pulling apart only when the need for air became unavoidable. My lips were tingling, my heart was humming, and the world had shifted on its axis. We had gone from rescuer and rescued to accomplices and lovers in the space of one evening. When we finally emerged, holding hands loosely, the carnival was winding down. The feeling of danger had subsided, replaced by a soft, giddy euphoria. Kevin walked me toward my apartment building, Momo-chan having been discreetly dismissed with a text message. "That was the most insane first date of my life," Kevin said, a wide, satisfied grin on his face. "It was the only date of my life," I admitted, suddenly shy. "And yes, insane, but good. Thank you for making me laugh, and for the rabbit mask. Thank you for the spontaneous display of professional martial arts," he countered, leaning in to give me a quick, chaste kiss on the forehead. "I'll handle Genki if he shows up again. No more kicking paparazzi, okay?" "No promises," I whispered. We were barely a block from my apartment, a street that should have been safe and residential, when the familiar sound of a camera shutter clicking broke the silence. This time, it wasn't just Genki. Genki was there, nursing a swollen jaw, but he was surrounded by 3 other men, all holding massive professional cameras with telephoto lenses. They were spread out in a deliberate arc, designed to cut off any escape. "Sayaka, we knew you'd come out again. This time, there's no escape. We're all live streaming. Your scandal is going worldwide," Genki bellowed, his voice filled with vindictive triumph. They had been waiting for us. They had staked out the park, seen us leave, and followed us, waiting for the perfect moment. "Damn it," Kevin cursed softly, instantly pulling me behind him. "We have to run." We took off, sprinting down the quiet street. They were professionals, and they were relentless. We couldn't outrun 4 cars and 4 men with long legs forever. We darted into a side alley, the flash of the cameras momentarily blinding us. "We need a distraction, a cover, a complete impossibility," I panted, my mind working frantically, desperately searching for an escape plan that didn't involve another spin kick. Suddenly, an image flashed into my mind. Rin. My friend. The cosplayer. The femboy idol. I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work. I gasped, pulling Kevin toward a tiny, discreet alley that led to the back entrance of a small cafe. Follow me. Don't ask questions. We burst through the back door of a residential building and up 3 flights of stairs. I hammered on a door covered in anime posters and soft pastel bunny plushies. The door swung open, revealing Rin. He was tall, impossibly slender, and wearing a ridiculous silk pajama set adorned with little strawberries. His makeup was flawless, his hair a cascade of perfect black waves. Sayaka? What in the world? Rin, I need your help. Emergency. I need a change of clothes and a miracle. Paparazzi. I spat out, pulling us both into his tiny, cluttered apartment. I quickly stripped off my clothes, the same clothes I wore on the date, and handed them to Rin. I explained the situation in rapid-fire Japanese, gesturing wildly toward Kevin, who was breathing heavily and trying to understand the torrent of words. Rin's eyes sparkled with mischievous delight. Paparazzi? Live streaming? Oh, this is the best kind of drama. This is a role I was born to play. He snatched my date clothes, my simple black coat, skirt, and scarf, and disappeared into his closet. A moment later he emerged, completely transformed. He had put on one of his most popular cosplay wigs, a perfect, bouncy rendition of my signature hairstyle, only slightly more vibrant. He had accentuated his eyes with heavy eyeliner and added a flash of glitter that made him look uncannily like me, especially from a distance or on a low-resolution camera. He was wearing my clothes over his own sleek, androgynous body. The resemblance was astonishing. He was a perfect double. Kevin, you have to go with him. I instructed, quickly pulling on one of Rin's oversized, absurdly cute bunny hoodies. Hold his hand. Act like you are deeply in love. He is me. He is Sayaka. Kevin looked at Rin, then at me, then back at the perfect double who was already pulling on my coat. His confusion melted into professional admiration. Got it. Extraction is a go. Misdirection in 3, 2, 1, Kevin affirmed, the adrenaline of the chase overriding all sense of absurdity. Rin gave a quick, theatrical bow. Let's give them a show, darling. I watched from the window as Kevin and Rin stepped out onto the street, walking hand in hand, their shoulders touching intimately. The paparazzi saw them instantly. There they are! Sayaka, we got her! Genki screamed, urging his crew forward. Don't stop the stream! This is gold! The cameras flashed wildly, blinding the couple. The stream was recording. The men closed in, surrounding them, shoving their microphones and lenses in their faces. Then, Rin, with the dramatic flair of a true performer, stopped. He gave a sharp, contemptuous laugh that sounded utterly unlike my own. He reached up, grasped the edge of the perfect wig, and with one swift, dramatic flourish, ripped it off his head. The crowd of paparazzi gasped. The camera lenses wavered. Rin, not Sayaka, stood there, his own short, dark hair revealed, his exaggerated makeup highlighting his high, masculine cheekbones. Hello, Genki-kun. And friends, Rin said, his voice dropping to a cool, non-feminine register. Did you really think I was Sayaka? You call yourselves her greatest fans, yet you can't tell the difference between the sparkle kick idol and a simple femboy cosplayer having a private date? He leaned in, his expression turning sharp and venomous. You harass me. You call me unprofessional. You invade my privacy and accuse me of things that aren't true, all for a cheap, fake scoop. Shame on you. Go home and re-watch her old matches. Maybe then you'll learn what the real Sayaka looks like. He took Kevin's arm and pulled him away with a regal sneer, leaving the paparazzi completely deflated. The shock, the humiliation, and the realization that they had just live-streamed a complete failure, a public shaming of themselves, was too much. Genki! You dumbass! You led us on a wild goose chase! I knew it wasn't her! One of the photographers yelled, punching Genki lightly on the shoulder. All of our chats are giving us hell because of you, said another one. This is the last time I listened to your nonsense. It's not my fault, guys. You all saw her from afar too. She looked identical. Come on, don't leave. Genki answered, trying to defend himself, his triumph shattered, his jaw throbbing from the kick. They blamed Genki, folded their equipment, and dispersed. The stream cut abruptly. The mission was accomplished. A few minutes later, Kevin and a now re-wigged Rinrin returned to the apartment. I thanked Rinrin profusely, promising him a lifetime supply of rare imported tea. He waved it off, saying the drama was reward enough. Kevin walked me the remaining distance to my apartment door. The night was quiet now, the air clear of the toxic energy of the chase. We were safe. "We make a good team, Sayaka," he said, his hand resting on my shoulder. "You fly, I catch you. You kick, I run. You plan the escape, I execute the role." It was the best, worst date I could have ever imagined, I admitted, gazing up at him. "Thank you. For everything. For the kick protection, and for letting my friend embarrass those men." He gently cupped my chin, his gaze warm and serious. It was the best date I could have imagined, too. Truly. I wouldn't trade it, even for a graze to the head. He didn't kiss me again, just looked at me with that beautiful, clear blue gaze. He was leaving the country soon. He was a whirlwind of excitement, an anomaly in my perfectly ordered life. He had changed my world in 48 hours. "I leave on Thursday," he said quietly. "If the world wasn't watching, if the rules didn't exist, I would spend every moment with you until then." He paused, his thumb gently tracing the line of my jaw. "So, I'm going to ask you one more time. The answer doesn't have to be yes. But will you go out with me again, Sayaka? Tomorrow night? We'll find a new way to stay hidden." And at that moment, for the third time since I met this man, my brain froze, and all that came out of my mind was a short and trembly, "Eh?"
If you enjoyed this quick escape, hit the subscribe button for new stories twice a week. Until then, I'll see you at the next flip of the pages.